everyone, it's Chelsea from Painted Layers Studio. In today's video, we're going to turn this old sweater into an upcycled beanie. I found this sweater at the thrift store and I loved the color. It's also really soft, but it has a couple of holes in it. And for this project, we're going to be able to use the band here for the hat, and you won't even notice the holes. Now let's go over the supplies that we're going to use. Now I'm going to do this project on my serger because this is a stretch fabric and it's also going to take a lot of wear along the seams. If you just have a regular sewing machine, you can definitely just use that as well. Now you're going to, of course, get your old sweater that you want to recycle, and preferably get one that has this nice rib stretch at the bottom because that creates a really nice band for your hat. Now you're going to want to get this pattern, and I'm going to have a link below to this pattern on my website where you can go ahead and download it. You're going to want to have some tape. You're going to want to use a hot glue gun. You're going to want to use one of these, which is a cool little pom-pom maker. Some scissors. The other fabric you're going to need is some fleece because we're going to put a lining inside this beanie. Your pom-pom is going to be made out of yarn. Then you're going to need one of these brushes that, it's like a pet brush. You can find these at the dollar store. It's got these tiny little metal bristles on them. And you can use scissors, but I'm going to cut my pattern pieces with a rotary cutter. And then I'm going to use some clips as well. Okay, so the next step is to cut out our pattern pieces. And for this one, you want to print 2 pages. You'll see why in a second. So now you want to take this pattern piece, flip it over, and line it up like so. And then you're going to go ahead and tape these 2 pieces together. Grab your rotary cutter and your pattern, and we're going to place the pattern on top of the sweater. And we're going to add a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now when you unfold it, your hat should look something like this. Okay, so now we have our pieces cut and we're going to take it to the sewing machine. What we're going to do here is we're going to sew on both sides. We're going to sew this short little cut here, and then we're going to sew all the way along this edge. In my case, I'm going to be serging. So first I might add some clips just to keep everything in place, and then I'll go ahead and serge that. Don't forget to flip your hat inside out before you pin it together. Make sure that you get this very even at the bottom. In order to do so, you might want to do a basting stitch first. That's one side. Now I'm going to sew the other side. down. Because this seam is going to be taking a lot of stretch, you might want to go ahead and use a straight stitch and just secure that stitch down. So the next step is we're going to open the hat up and we're going to line it up along the side seams and flip it this way. Now we're going to pin across the top here with some clips. You can use pins if you prefer. Take your serger and go ahead and serge all the way across the top. Okay, so now we have our hat looking like this. Now we're going to take our yarn, a small pair of scissors, our pom-pom maker, our brush, and the hot glue gun. And we're going to use all that to make our pom-pom. Grab your yarn and find the end of it. I'm going to take your pom-pom maker, and this one just opens up right here. And what we want to do is start by wrapping the yarn around this. I've got mine pretty thick here because I want this pom-pom to be pretty thick. And what I'm going to do is add a little bit of hot glue in the inside of the curve here. Then I'm just going to cut this string. I'm going to let that dry. And then I'm going to repeat that process for the other side. Okay, so now the pom-pom looks like this. Close it together. So I have that donut. And then I'm going to grab some scissors and I'm going to start cutting along here. Okay, so now we've cut all of the little yarn pieces here. I actually had to go ahead and use a knife because it was just a lot faster to cut through here. And also what I realized is that you're actually supposed to use 2 of these pieces together, and then that leaves a little gap in the middle where you can put your scissors through. And also now we have to tie a string around this part to hold it together. So I'm just gonna go as close to this plastic edge as I can, then tie it, give it a really good pull. Okay, so that turned out pretty good actually. The next thing I need to do is take some scissors and go ahead and trim this up. Now you can definitely go ahead and leave your pom-pom like this if you like it. However, if you want to make it fluffier, we have the brush here, and what we can do is just go ahead and brush. What that does is it gives it a cool, almost like sheep hair, almost like a fur look. Okay, so we have our hat and we have our pom-pom. Now we just need to attach the pom-pom onto the hat. And in order to do this, we're just going to use some thread and a regular hand sewing needle. Sew into this pom-pom. Be really careful that you don't poke yourself. I'm just kind of grabbing the yarn, making a knot. Okay, so my hat's inside out. We want to be stitching on this side. However, we want the pom-pom to be on the outside of the hat. So we're going to take the needle and we're going to go inside the hat. I'm going to stick it through the top here, those cross seams, and then I'm going to pull really tight. If you would like, you can use a stronger thread for this. You might use just a thicker thread so that it's a little more secure. So one stitch is actually not enough to hold on the pom-pom, I discovered. So go back in with your needle and thread and add some more stitches around the edge here. So now to add that nice fleece lining. So I want to grab the fleece and I want it inside out. I want to trace as close to the edge of the fabric as I can. So now I'm going to serge along both edges, but I'm going to leave a hole at the top. So I'm going to sew about here to here. Then I'm going to take my lining piece and with that inside out, I'm going to place it around the hat with these sewed edges lined up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my needle and thread and I'm going to hand stitch this in place all the way around. And when I do that, I'm going to just barely grab the inside of this rib here. I'm going to be putting it inside the thread so that it doesn't show on the outside of the hat, only on the inside. I'm going to do that all the way around. Okay, so the stitch side should look like this, and I used a color that matched my fleece. And now let's turn it inside out. And what you should have will look like this. So you shouldn't have any stitches, any of your stitches showing on the outside of the hat here. And then when you kind of fold it up there, you shouldn't have any stitches showing as well. And then you can go ahead and close up this hole at the top here. For a more finished look, you might just want to serge it. And then we can tuck it in. And then you have a really nice fleece lining in your hat. And here is the beanie complete. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you get to make your own awesome beanie. Till next time.